Welcome to another member spotlight here at Be Connected World. This week we have the incredible Desiree Beekharry. The reason that there was a pause there, I was going to add the doctor in front of it because she actually is Dr. Desiree Beekharry, but she doesn't like us using that. So I'll just wipe that out and I will hand over to her for her member spotlight.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to talk to you today about risk, and I'll do that by telling you a little story. The story is about my grandmother called May, and May believed in creating the United Nations in her womb, and she started off at the age of 13 with a black man and had a black baby. Then she had another child, a half-caste child from a white man. Then she decided, okay, I'll go Hindu. So she had a Hindu child with another man. So by the time May was about 17, she'd had 3 different colors from her womb. And at the time, we're talking about my grandmother here, which was some time ago. By the time she'd done baby number 2 from some other nation, she'd been discarded, thrown out, left out, and totally ignored and basically shunned by everybody who saw her on the street. They just crossed over. She was unwed, she was young, had been with different men, etc., etc., etc. And if you remember in those times, and if you recall, it was just not done. And it's probably still not done now. People still look down on certain people. Anyway, so May eventually, after having 3 different colored kids and trying to make a life doing different jobs, she met somebody absolutely amazing, a Muslim, and wanted to have a Muslim baby. But whilst they were trying very hard, they lived together and started to do business. May was a great dressmaker. She had a great business head, but she didn't have any money. And worst of all, she didn't have any education. She stopped school at maybe 8, 9 years old, so we could consider her illiterate. And she met her Muslim man then, and they lived together. He was disowned by his Muslim family because she was African Creole. He was Muslim from a good family. They didn't accept her because of what she was. And they decided to work together and build something. So May was making dresses, etc., by lamplight, by a candle. And they tried to do everything that her partner, Ajam, was trying to do in his life, get a job and everything, that his father would go to tell the boss to throw him out, get rid of him because of his associations with May. So everything they tried, people put spanners in the work to block them. Something happened one day on the island. There was a big fire in a very rich person's house. They were marrying off their only daughter, and 3 days before the wedding, it was a very big socialite family. 3 days before the wedding, their house burned down, and with it the trousseau, the wedding trousseau, everything that was prepared for that marriage. When May heard about that on the wireless, she went and knocked on every door, borrowed money from everybody she knew who had ever had any money. She sold everything she had. So did her partner then, who is my granddad, and went to the material shop, and she bought wedding material. She created a wedding dress for this family, and she went and knocked on the door of these people. Now, these people would never have actually given my grandmother, May, a second looking. She knocked on their door. She said, I've heard about your misfortune. I've created something for your daughter. Will you take a look at it? because they were in such upside down, they were so upside down, the daughter was traumatized, and it was going to be the wedding of the century, blah, blah, blah. They said, okay, we have nothing to lose, let's have a look at it. When they saw the dress that my grandmother had created, the daughter said it was better than the dress that had been made for her originally. At that moment, from that moment, they asked my grandmother, what do you need to make this happen? And she told them what she needed. And they said, our house is at your disposal. Bring in who you want, make what you want. Will you have some dresses for the bridesmaid by this time? What do you need? And my grandmother told them what she needed, and they mobilized everything. Within 3 days, she had the wedding gown, the bridesmaid dresses for 12 bridesmaids, and all the trousseau, the bed linen, her night dress for her honeymoon, all of the bed linen, everything was ready within 3 days for the wedding. And my grandmother had said to them, you don't need to pay me. You just need to wear the dress. Of course, they did pay her, but what was the important thing, after the wedding, my grandmother went home and said, I'm going to sleep for 5 days. That's what she said to my granddad. And my granddad said, you don't have time to sleep. You've got a queue of people waiting outside your house. And my grandmother said, I never have anybody waiting outside the house. She goes, have you seen the cars out there? And what happened was that all these very important people who shunned her, or the people who were not important who shunned her, or the church-going people who shunned her, suddenly there they were, having to be seen in one of her dresses. For the next 25 years, no one who was anyone would ever go to a ball, a wedding, to any kind of special event without wearing one of my grandmother's dresses, outfits, clothes. My grandmother created two very successful businesses thanks to that. One of them is her dressmaking. She was very important. And the other one was completely different business, nothing to do with clothing at all. And what I learned from her, because she raised me and I watched her, and I can do everything my grandmother can do, except that's not the way I wanted to go, is learned about risk taking, that nothing ever is how it is. If you believe in what you want to do, if you know and you want to take the risk, it's absolutely worth it, because you just never know what doors could open for you. Take the risk. The worst you're going to get is no. But oh my God, should it be a yes? What can that do? So this is the reason why I eventually decided to start my business. And if I ever fall down and feel like bad, or feel that I'm not going to make it, I'm in the dumps, the clients are not out there, or I can't possibly approach this person, I think, what did May do? What did she do? She raised you, for God's sake. She was phenomenal. If you imagine my grandmother, she was this big woman, big nostrils, huge chest, big backside, wide width. Then when she stood, she had that power pose, like this. You don't. And whenever I think of her, I just think of her, and I take on her persona, and I just think, just be May and just go do it. And she's my inspiration. I mean, she raised me. I've seen that look before many times when I misbehave or when I didn't want to. She's the one. And the reason I don't give up is because of her. I thought, if she, an illiterate, thrown out, shunned Black woman who just had nothing and took every risk possible, with what I have, with the opportunities I've had, what excuse do I have for giving up? None. So I don't give up. So that's my story for today's Be Connected World. Thank you for listening.